Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Alan Rosen.
Welcome to CAD 134, Basic AutoCAD for Interior Design, and our weekly Zoom classroom meeting. Chapter 1 is due on the 17th, and Chapter 2 is due on the 24th. Chapter 1 is really just one drawing, and if we take a look at it, this is the Chapter 1 drawing. And you can put those items in the Chapter 1 Dropbox. This exercise was just basic detail drawing and construction, how to create lines, arcs, in this geometry as shown here. If we take a look at the main splash page, and then we go to the content section, and we look at Chapter 1, it basically goes through and talks about how to draw with AutoCAD and the interface, being able to use the application menu button, understanding where the buttons are located, and terminology for CAD. And we don't expect you to memorize it all. What we want you to do is just start to understand that there is a vocabulary for working with these tools, and we want you to learn the vocabulary for it so that when we start going through and working with these documents, we can sound like we know what we're doing. And so we started off with basically these objectives, which were being able to go through the interface, being able to set the background color. I think we changed it to white. And the way we would do that would be in our CAD system right here. My background is already white, but if I wanted to do that, I would go and right click and say options. And if I wanted to go to the display tab into colors, I can change it back to the default, which is black. Apply and close. And the difficulty with the way that it's set up is that it's hard to see dark blue on black, and paper is typically white. So I like going through and setting the options for the colors to be white so that it's like a piece of paper. And this is the 2D model space. Apply and close, and we can okay that. And then if we look at some of the other content that we're working with here, we worked with the command line. The command line allows us to type in our different commands, like the line command. We work with some of the mousing buttons, polylines, menu bars, toolbars, and then the coordinate system. So if we come back here and kind of apply that, what we're looking at is here's our ribbon. And then to enable the menu bar, we have to hit this little arrow with a line over it, hide the menu bar. Now the menu bar is, now it's hidden. Show the menu bar. And with the menu bar, you'll get all the words in pull down fashion. So it's easier to teach the class by using the words than it is by trying to describe some of the pictures and things like that. And then we went through and we created different geometry with commands like the line command. And if I were to draw a line here, what I really want to do is I want to either use grid or snap or polar. And so under tools, drafting settings, what we started to do was enable snap and grid. And then we like to enable polar tracking. And depending on what we're working on, we'll use object snap. But those are the three tabs in drafting settings that we're going to use when we set up our drawings. So when I draw a line with a grid, everything moves in eighth increments because that's what my grid is set at. And you'll notice this green line, which snaps every 90 degrees. And that's polar tracking. When I have a green line like that, I can type 3 enter, and I'll get a 3-inch line. We also looked at options and some of the options that we want on. And you pretty much want all of them on. And then they'll be displayed down here at the bottom. If I turn on line weight, I can now see the line weights that are set. If I had one set, for this one, I can set a line weight to be 0.5. And you can see that it's visibly thicker. Switching back to D2L, we worked with some visual styles in the view cube and the navigation bar. And then our status bar, like I was saying, down at the bottom. Model space versus paper space we'll work with today. And exiting AutoCAD. Back to our chapter 1. So our chapter 1 exercise is just this one right here. Draw these shapes. Get rid of that one. And you can put your name on there. You don't necessarily have to because the book didn't tell you how to do it. But if you, most people like to have their name on things because otherwise somebody else will put their name on it and say they did it. So put your name on it. If you've turned it in already, that's quite all right. And that's exercise 1. Okay. And then if we look at D2L under chapter 2, chapter 2 gets into all these other shapes and things like that. And so as we look at chapter 2, and I think I goofed up in this video, I think this is actually part of chapter 2 and this is chapter 1. So if I did make an error with it, go ahead and just fix that from a standpoint of which one chapter 1 and chapter 2 is. These are really not that difficult, and Al and I are not so aggressive on our grading in the beginning that we're going to dock you, especially if we made the error. So chapter 2 goes through all these different shapes and being able to construct things with rectangles, arcs, being able to use the mirror command and being able to draw these other objects. And so if we look at these other objects, we have this document in chapter 2, and then we have the projects. And let's just go look at the projects. And so if we hit this project right here, questions from the end of the chapter, we'll have multiple choice questions, which will ask us about the commands. And then we'll have projects that we'll create. And so here's the project 2-1, which I mistakenly thought was for chapter 1. And then 2-2, again, we'll set these up with architectural units, set the limits, grid display, and then we'll draw these different shapes. When we create those objects, we have a video for those. And so if I come back here in the D2L and we go to chapter 2, and we look at the videos for that. These are the exercises. Here's the title block. And then here are the videos. And so the videos will have a link to them. I'm going to mute some people here. There we go. And so as we go through and we look at the videos, let's see, here's 2-4, 2-3, 2-2, and 2-1. So let's look at the 2-2 video. Here's our video exercise. That's a drawing. Let's go back here. Here it is. And we can just play that video. I'll remove the sound. It's a 10-minute video, and we take you right from the very beginning. So we really don't need to spend a lot of time on this unless you have questions about it. And if you do have questions, we'll be happy to answer those. But the videos, I think, are much better than the book because you can just watch them, kind of fast forward through them like I am. I take it from complete to starting from 0 and creating these different drawings. And I think what we did in this video was we used a template and we kind of traced over it. So that's the video for that exercise. Back to chapter 2. And then the video for the next exercise would be exercise 2-3. And so the drawing files that are there are used as templates. And so if I were to download that drawing file and open it, you would then be able to trace over it. Exercise, here we go. So again, we start off with this exercise here. And this one doesn't trace over it. So I like it better when we don't spoon feed everybody so much. And this is how to create these different geometries. For those. And so each of the videos is about 10 minutes. You don't have to watch the videos. You can just follow the instructions from the textbook. Video 2-4 is how to make the door. And again, you know, if we did download it and open that, you can trace over it because the way that it's set up is that they're on locked layers. And that way, if you've never worked with CAD before and you're just getting the hang of it, I can go to the line command. I'm going to turn off my O snap because that makes it too easy. And then here's my grid and my snap. And I can just go here and draw a line from here to here. It's going to be 3 feet. Navigate up, over, down. And you have to zoom in. Try not to draw from really far away or you're going to become best friends with your eye doctor. And then as we go through and we draw some of these other shapes, we can just use rectangles and we can create them. Now my snap is off on this, so that makes it a little difficult. So what would I do? One thing that I could do would be to go into my tools drafting settings and turn on my object snap and set that to a smaller value. So I could change this to 1/16 and okay that. And then I can draw rectangles. Etc. Save the drawing as your initials. And so where I have the XX, I would change it to my initials. Exercise 2-4, chapter 2. I tend to get carried away with some of my naming conventions, but that's the way it is when you work in engineering for a while. Seems like everything wants to just go where it wants to, except for where I want it to go today. So I'll put it in my 2020. Save it. Okay, so back to the main page here. Chapter 2, exercises, consists of these drawings here. If you do need more time, that's no problem. You can request an extension. I think when I look at it, Al, you've got the chapter 2 due the 24th. So we have plenty of time. And then chapter 3 is due October 1st. So that's probably why we don't have a whole ton of people putting everything into the Dropbox right now. All right, so that's what is due. That's what you should be working on. we're going to stop this recording, open things up for questions, and then we'll go through chapter 3.